My name is Caitlin Crane, and I lead an organization called Just One. All right, here we go. Our mission is to protect and rescue kids from sex trafficking and exploitation. I remember the first time I heard about sex trafficking. I was 14 years old at a fundraiser for an anti-trafficking nonprofit in India, and the speaker was telling a story of a 14-year-old girl in India who had been rescued from sex trafficking. I remember her story just hit me really hard. Maybe that was because we were the same age. And I remember having the thought of, well, she could have been me. Like, what if that had happened to me? And that just stuck with me over the years. At the time, I had no idea that that was the beginning of something that would become a passion. Fast forward almost 7 years, and I was almost 21, working a job that I loved and about to pursue this passion. I had to fight on behalf of the vulnerable and the exploited. And the crazy thing is it never dawned on me that I was vulnerable. Only about a month before I started Just One, I met this guy who was a good bit older than me. On the surface, he seemed to be a pretty decent guy. He started pursuing me pretty relentlessly right away. He told me he loved me and that he wanted to marry me. To make a messy, year-long story short, this guy manipulated me. He lied to me about a lot of things. He didn't tell me that he had a girlfriend that he lived with the whole time. And he even lied about having stage 3 lung cancer to try to get me to stay in the relationship. And unfortunately, his lies worked, and eventually he got what he wanted from me. By the time I found out the whole truth, it was too late to protect myself. It actually took about 3 years for me to see the situation with clear eyes and realize that I had been exploited. I remember the day that it dawned on me. If he had been a trafficker, I would have been trafficked, because he used a lot of the same tactics and tools that traffickers use to lure in and groom their victims. Looking back, it was crazy for me to realize that the very thing I was passionate about fighting against is what almost took me out. But it didn't. And I share my story with you because I want you to know why I'm in this fight. You see, there's over 10 million children around the world today that are being exploited in much more horrific ways than I was. 10 million. And knowing that, it infuriates me and it motivates me to fight on their behalf, to fight for them to have the chance to live freely and without fear of being exploited. This holiday season, we have an incredible opportunity to make an impact on the lives of at-risk and rescued children. Several generous donors have partnered with us to match the first $5,000 given. And so that means when we raise $5,000, it's going to become $10,000. And our goal is to raise a total of $15,000 by the end of December. So whether you give $1, $2, $10, $100, or $1,000, up to $5,000, your donation will be doubled. And the incredible thing is, not only is your donation doubled, but your impact is doubled as well. So what will your gift impact? Let me show you. In Kenya, we help care for 21 beautiful girls who have been rescued from different forms of exploitation. Their life before rescue was tough. They were abused, neglected, and some of them were at risk of being sold into forced early childhood marriage. We are proud to be partnered with 2 Kenyan-based nonprofits, Desert Rose Ministries and Redeeming Love Outreach, to help care for these children and give them the chance to live the life that they deserve. The girls live in our safe house and are enrolled in private school or college, depending on their age. Education is changing the trajectory of their life. Before being rescued, most of them were not in school and likely would have never had the chance to go. but now they are learning and they're being equipped to one day create a good life for themselves once they graduate.
Hi, my name is Hadassah Shalom Kalhun. I am 16 years old. I go to Menengai High School. I became a leader in my school, and I wanted to say thank you for all the support that you've given on to us until now.
So your donation will help cover the cost of their school fees, school uniforms, school supplies, and other things they need in 2020. But that's not all. Your donation will also help give these girls an amazing Christmas. Every year we try to make sure they have a Christmas they'll remember by making sure each girl gets a gift of their own, that they have a special Christmas meal together, and that each of the Safe House staff gets a Christmas bonus as a way of saying thank you for all that they do on a day-to-day basis for these girls. So along with making an impact on the lives of 21 girls in Kenya, your donation will also impact the lives of children here in the United States. Every day, young people across the U.S. face dangers that they are often unaware of. Traffickers are using all kinds of tactics and tools to target and lure in young people. Things like social media, online interactive games, or recruiting one young person and using them under threat to recruit more young people at their school. Or sometimes they'll hire a young, good-looking guy to go and flirt with girls at malls. The list goes on and on. The thing is when young people are unaware of the dangers they face, they are more likely to fall prey to the tactics of traffickers. So that's why we are working to educate young people, equip them to protect themselves from the dangers of sex trafficking and exploitation through our online educational resources and the live presentations that we give at schools, churches, and events. Your donation will help us educate thousands of young people in 2020. And every young person educated is one more who is less likely to ever be victimized.
My daughter's 13 years old, and we had had some discussion before. We had talked about some things that could happen. We had one incident that we talked about. She was in a chat room with some friends of hers, and from that chat room, one of her friends had invited some other people into the chat room, and on the side, one of those young men had contacted my daughter, and they were chatting on the side. And she ended that chat, and I know it was directly related to the things she heard from Just One. We walked away from that with my daughter seeing me more as an ally and less of an obstacle for her. And I even heard her telling her grandmother Caitlin's story, which was cool. I was in the other room and she was telling her grandmother, you know, that could have been a different outcome for Caitlin, and that really struck her. What if that had happened? What if Caitlin had ended up going down that road of trafficking? And made it very personal to her. And I know that she's more aware, she's more alert, and I'm very grateful that we were able to have this presentation presented to us.
So will you join us as we fight on behalf of thousands of children? Every child deserves to be fought for. Even just one child is worth fighting for. Make a donation today and make an impact on the life of a child. And remember, all donations up to the first 5,000 given will be doubled. Thank you so much for your generosity, and Merry Christmas from all of us at Just One. This opportunity, I can't talk. Help, let's give this a try. Hopefully it won't take 20 takes.